Have you ever been in that situation? Like when someone just casually asks, so tell me about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And your mind just goes completely blank.
It's like a deer in the headlights.
It is. It's so true. Like suddenly every interesting thing you've ever done, every little, detail just vanishes.
Poof.
Gone. It's like it never even happened.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it's a simple question on the surface.
Right.
But it feels so loaded.
It really does. It's like all the pressure is on to be, witty and charming and, sum up your entire existence in like 30 seconds.
Exactly. And you want to make a good impression, right?
Of course.
You want them to, walk away thinking, wow, that person is really interesting. I want to get to know them better.
Absolutely. So today we're going to tackle this head on.
Yes, we are.
We're going deep on how to introduce yourself in a way that's authentic, engaging, and memorable.
We're going to give you the tools and the confidence to nail those first impressions.
Because, let's be real, those first impressions matter.
They really do.
They set the tone for the whole interaction.
So where do we even begin?
Well, I think it makes sense to start with the basics. The foundational pieces of information that people typically share when they first meet.
Okay, so like what? Name.
Exactly. Name's a great place to start. It's as simple as, hi, I'm host name.
Right.
Straightforward and to the point.
And then maybe where you're from.
Yeah, location is another common one. You could say something like, I'm currently living in host location, or I'm originally from another location.
Okay, so we've got name, we've got location. Anything else that's kind of like a standard intro element?
Sometimes age comes up too, especially depending on the context. If it's a professional setting or a more casual social gathering.
Right, that makes sense.
So you might say, I'm 28 or whatever your age is. But again, it really depends on the situation and your personal comfort level.
That's kind of optional.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no hard and fast rule about sharing your age right away.
Okay, so once you've got those basic introductions out of the way, what's next?
Well, after the initial pleasantries, people usually want to know a bit more about what you do.
You mean like your job or your studies?
Exactly. It helps them get a sense of your daily life and what you're passionate about.
Okay, so give me some examples.
Sure. So let's say you're a graphic designer. You could say, I'm a graphic designer. I work on creating visual concepts for websites and brands.
Okay, that's pretty clear.
Or if you're a teacher, you might say, I'm a teacher. I work with elementary school kids. It's always an adventure.
Right.
And if you're a student, you could say, I'm in my final year of university studying biology. I'm really fascinated by the human body.
Those are good examples.
Mm.
And I like how you're adding a little bit of detail to make it more interesting. You're not just saying, I'm a teacher. You're saying, it's always an adventure.
Right. It's about giving them a glimpse into your world.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be super formal or detailed at this stage.
No, just a general idea of what you do.
So how do you move beyond just the facts and start building a real connection?
That's where hobbies and free time activities come in. This is where you really get to showcase your personality and find common ground with the other person.
Okay, I like that. So let's say someone says, in my free time, I love hiking and reading mystery novels.
Right away,
Yeah.
if you share those interests or if you have something else to connect with them about.
Exactly. Or maybe they say, I'm really into photography and I love experimenting with different film techniques.
Then you can start talking about cameras and dark rooms and all that good stuff.
Right. Or maybe someone's really into cooking and they say, I love trying out new recipes and hosting dinner parties.
That's a great way to find out if they have any signature dishes or if they've had any kitchen disasters.
Yeah. And the more specific they are, the more memorable it is. If they say, I once baked a cake that looked like a leaning tower of Pisa, that's a story you're going to remember.
Totally. It's way more interesting than just saying, I like to bake.
So sharing those hobbies and passions really helps to break the ice and make the conversation more engaging.
Absolutely. It gives you something to talk about beyond just the surface level stuff.
Okay, so we've covered name, location, what you do, hobbies. What else can you do to make a good first impression?
Well, what about highlighting your strengths?
Okay, so like, what are you good at?
Exactly. But it's not about bragging.
Right.
It's about sharing your positive qualities in a genuine and relatable way.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you're someone who's very patient. You could say, I'd say I'm a pretty patient person, which is helpful in my work as a designer because things don't always go as planned.
Right. So you're connecting it back to your profession.
Exactly. Or maybe you're someone who's really good at problem solving. You could say, I'm a bit of a problem solver. I love figuring things out and finding creative solutions.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or if you're someone who's very organized, you could say, I'm very organized. I like to have everything in its place, which helps me stay on top of things.
Right, so you're highlighting a strength and also explaining how it benefits you.
Exactly. It's about showing your best self without being arrogant.
Now, I think this next part is really where you can make your introduction stand out.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's about adding a little bit of personality through a short story or a fun fact.
Ooh, I like that.
Think about it. Everyone has a story to tell,
It's true.
and sharing a brief anecdote can make you so much more memorable than just listing facts about yourself.
Okay, so what kind of stories are we talking about?
Well, it could be something funny like the time you accidentally wore 2 different shoes to work.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Or it could be something adventurous like the time you went backpacking through Europe and got lost in the Alps.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Or it could be something heartwarming like the time you rescued a stray cat and it became your best friend.
Oh, that's so sweet.
The point is to choose a story that reveals something about your personality or your experiences and makes people want to know more about you.
It's like giving them a sneak peek into your world.
Exactly. Now remember, this part is optional.
Right.
If you're not comfortable sharing a story right away, that's totally fine.
But if you do have a good one, it can really make a lasting impression.
Absolutely. So let's recap what we've covered so far.
Okay.
We talked about the basics: name, location, age, if you're comfortable sharing it.
Then we moved on to what you do for work or studies and your hobbies and interests.
And finally, we talked about highlighting your strengths and adding a personal touch with a short story or a fun fact.
So all of that sounds great, but how do you actually put it all together?
Well, first of all, keep it concise. You don't want to overwhelm the other person with too much information.
Right.
Aim for 1 to 2 minutes max.
That's a good rule of thumb.
And second,
Yeah.
practice, practice, practice. The more you practice introducing yourself, the more natural and confident you'll sound.
That's so true. It's like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, and perhaps most importantly, be yourself.
Authenticity is key.
People can spot a fake a mile away.
Yeah.
So just relax. Be genuine and let your personality shine through.
Now let's talk about why all of this is so important. Why bother putting effort into crafting a good self-introduction?
Well, it all comes down to connection.
Connection.
Yeah, introducing yourself is the first step in building relationships, whether they're personal or professional.
That makes sense.
It's a way of saying, hey, I'm here. I'm interested in connecting with you.
And it opens the door for further conversation and shared experiences.
Exactly. And let's be real, sometimes putting yourself out there can feel scary.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're shy or introverted.
But remember, everyone feels that way sometimes.
Even the most outgoing people.
Even them. The key is to not let those feelings hold you back.
Easier said than done sometimes.
I know, but trust me, the more you practice, the easier it gets.
Okay, so what's the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's struggling with self-introductions?
Start small.
Yeah.
Focus on sharing just 1 or 2 interesting things about yourself. Don't try to cram everything in at once.
That's good advice.
And remember, it's a two-way street. Ask the other person questions too. Show that you're interested in getting to know them.
So to wrap things up, what are the key takeaways for our listeners today?
When introducing yourself, share your name. Give some context about what you do or what you're passionate about. And if you're comfortable, add a personal touch with a hobby or a short story.
Keep it concise, practice beforehand, and most importantly, be yourself.
That's it in a nutshell.
So there you have it, folks. Everything you need to know to rock those self-introductions.
Now go out there and make some awesome connections.
And remember, next time someone asks, tell me about yourself, take a deep breath and just be you.
You got this.
That's a wrap for this deep dive.
Until next time.